In part 1, I will be discussing the importance of management dealing with culture. Culture varieties will always be in the workplace, and these differences may cause conflict. Therefore, management needs to be aware of these potential issues. Culture has been described as being like an iceberg. There are artifacts which are visible features of culture, including language, clothing, manner, and food. These can be easily detected through observations. When dealing with people from different cultures requires management to know the cultural diversities. For instance, the way we deal with them, what we say and what we should avoid saying, how to communicate, and how to be aware of the culture taboos. Religion is a major display of culture, and it can be a source of differences in norms and values. Differences of religion in the past have caused some challenges, therefore it is vital that non-religious or religious managers know about all religions, for instance, to accommodate all religious sensitivities or any religious festivals. Managers must enhance their cultural intelligence in order to adjust and understand new cultures. This cultural intelligence goes through 3 stages: awareness, knowledge, and skills. Furthermore, managers must be aware of the prevailing norms. If managers fail to understand or adopt to these changing norms, it can lead to unsatisfactory results. Hofstede suggested that the dimensions approach is a more influential approach for managers understanding cultural differences in the workplace. Instead of focusing on differences of countries within one cluster, he focuses on multiple dimensions of culture differences within and across clusters. He identified 4 dimensions. Power distance. This is the extent that less powerful people in a country accepts the unequal distribution of power and authority, and it has 2 forms: high power distance cultures and low power distant cultures. Uncertainty avoidance. It is said that some cultures tend to accept change as a challenge whilst others don't, and it takes 2 forms: uncertainty of individualism versus collectivism, the extent to which members of a culture consider themselves to be autonomous or embedded in masculinity versus femininity. This is the extent to which culture stresses achievement or nurture, and it takes 2 forms: masculine cultures or feminine.
We are now going to discuss the impact of management dealing with culture. Many global organisations have their own diversity mission statements. The Coca-Cola Company's global diversity mission is to mirror the rich diversity of the marketplace we serve and to be recognised for our leadership in diversity, inclusion and fairness in all aspects of our business. For Japan, there is a high value on masculinity versus femininity and uncertainty avoidance. For China, there's a high presence of power distance and long-term orientation. For Germany, a high value of individualism and masculinity versus femininity, and for the US, there's the highest ranking of individualism. Comparison between the results found suggests that it's crucial for organisations to embed cultural aspects into their everyday business function. Research continually reveals that cultural differences can affect decision-making, motivation, and power relationships. Why do multinational enterprises value cultural diversity? It can increase employee motivation along with performance and productivity. They can attract and retain the best talent. They can access a diverse skills base. They can gain a competitive advantage due to an increase in market knowledge, and it also inspires creativity and innovation. The Virgin Group values diversity and empowers staff to make suggestions and innovation. Amazon highlights that they benefit from the diversity of thought, helping with their decision-making and inventing. And Ford encourages their employees to maximise the professional and personal growth. How can you be culturally competent? Listen up. In order to operate efficiently, you must recognise the different cultural preferences when it comes to team working, communication, workplace etiquette, and the different calendars and holidays requested.
We are now going to discuss the challenges of managing culture. Differing cultures can lead to a variety of different behaviours, ideas, opinions and beliefs. Managers therefore must be aware of the impact that their decisions have on the welfare of others. As a result of a multicultural workplace, managers may be faced with ethical dilemmas. McDonald's, as an example, had to change their fries because the beef fat they were cooked in made them objectionable to vegetarians and Hindus. What seems normal to one person may be frowned upon by another. Whistleblowing is another example of a cultural difference. It is more likely used by those in the USA and France than it is by those in Germany. Some beliefs and attitudes may be overlooked by others in the workplace. People may find it difficult to understand why others have these views, and it can therefore hinder relationships. Overall, it can be a challenging topic. However, both managers and employees must try and accept these cultural differences and be able to accept change if required.
Culture impacts the distance in power in working relationships, particularly between managers and their subordinates. For example, workers from the US commonly refer to their bosses by first name despite the obvious hierarchy. In high power distance countries, however, such as Russia, it is seen as a sign of weak leadership and low integrity to solicit feedback and participation from workers. Managers must therefore understand the power distance expectations of subordinates and vice versa to ensure cooperation. We are told in individualist cultures such as the UK and the US that it is okay to refuse food or drink. However, if you refuse to have a coffee with a Saudi businessman, it would be seen as rude and cause tension. Another challenge for managers is to therefore understand how to manage relationships. Culture also changes the way in which workers prefer to be managed, and it is a challenge to strike the right balance with each worker. Masculine culture promotes managers to be assertive, focusing on career progression and rewards, whereas feminine culture promotes compassion and building consensus amongst workers. Mitsubishi Motors, the Japanese company used to masculine values, found this issue when they began operating in the US. In 1998, the North American division paid out $34 million in sexual harassment charges as they failed to respect the feminine culture. Another challenge for managers is to be self-aware of their own biases created by their own culture, as these can lead to favourable treatment of those within the same culture or inaccurate assumptions about those from other cultures. For example, it's a common misconception that Indian workers do not deliver on time. Culture can also cause a breakdown in communication. For example, in Japan, negotiators do not say no to a business request, they instead say something like, "We'll get back to you later," but that actually means no. It is therefore extremely challenging for someone from a different culture to understand this in real time to prevent the breakdown of communication. Language barriers also cause a breakdown in communication. International managers often have to deal with 2 or 3 languages on a daily basis, and this can be challenging. What's more, it can also cause confusion amongst consumers. For example, Rolls-Royce's Silver Mist car caused confusion in Germany as mist translates to rubbish. Culture often requires managers to treat workers bound by it in a certain way. This is particularly true for religion, as some workers may need specific days off based on their religious beliefs. Those out with this culture may find this unfair and to be a form of favouritism, leading to isolation and bullying. The final challenge of managing culture is sharing knowledge. Sharing knowledge is vital to an organisation's success as it allows it to learn and grow. However, sharing knowledge across cultures can be complex due to the fact that culture creates barriers. Managers must facilitate the sharing of knowledge, breaking these barriers down.
We chose this topic as it is becoming increasingly relevant in today's society. This is due to many factors that have allowed an increase in diversity and therefore a mix of different cultures within many different settings. The relevancy of culture is apparent in everyday life. and yet people may not be aware of how significant it truly is. I would like to illustrate this point by noting that there were cultural differences within our own group and even in our thought processes while developing our presentation. We wanted to communicate our views via a platform that would be flexible and interactive to convey our aim of making the presentation diverse enough to suit the viewers. Thank you for listening, and please do not hesitate to ask us any questions.